Welcome everyone to another T2 status report. Most of you know me already from all the viral videos writing USB drivers from scratch in 3 hours and in general maintaining our T2 Linux distribution here live on this YouTube and Twitch channel. Doing this for 25 years already, and multiple times I said, or multiple times people ask me, can you not send more patches upstream? Why is stuff working so smoothly and so amazingly in T2 Linux, and why is so much stuff broken and not implemented, like AM4, IO or XIO APIC or IO APIC something, but also Steam Deck temperature monitoring, Ultra Spark, PowerPC, PS3, and so on and so forth, right? And I usually said it's so expensive, right? If I quickly fix something in 8 hours or 6 hours, that is one thing. Often it's also bisecting Sun Ultra Spark things for 8 hours or PS3 things, right? I mean, quickly fixing something 8 hours later. But if I upstream it, it is even more time. I always ballpark estimated if I quickly do something in T2, it's quick. If I upstream it, it's 10 times the time. And because so many people are begging me, and thanks to all your support on here and on Patreon, more subscribers, 60,000 subscribers here, 6,660 on Twitch, and increasing donations and stuff. The last week started to upstream one Linux kernel patch a day. In the meantime, over 10 patches were accepted, actually more than one a day. But so New Year's resolution, kernel code of Advent live here on YouTube and Twitch. From now on, we try to target one upstream Linux kernel improvement patch, whether it's fixing Steam Deck, fixing PS3, fixing AM4, fixing Ultra Spark, fixing PCMCA, fixing VIA, Centaur, older IDT WinChip, infinite looping with glibc, and previous video, right? Usually stuff, we have here stuff that's like we actually upstream Spark floppy fix, 8 years broken. We previously fixed fiber channel, 6 years broken, twice, 2 times every 6 years they break fiber channel on Big Onion Spark. And if you have not subscribed to Twitch, you can follow us on Twitch. We did that live. The last days were massive, 8 hours live stream here, 7 hours live stream there. And the situation is even crazier than I thought. So basically the update is we started to upstream things and people are happy and amazing. But did I say expensive? Did I say it 10 times? Actually, it turns out my ballpark estimate of 10 times more expensive, I think 10 times that. The start was rough. And also I would say the Linux kernel upstreaming process is way too inefficient. Let me open my high-tech email client here and go to the send folder. That's not even everything, because I had moved these messages, and that is most of the stuff from the last days, including fixing gorgeous stuff. Finally, for the first time ever, iOmega click drives will work in Linux. I kid you not. Yes, is it important? No. But all the things, including watchdog timer, and some things were really crazy, right? And that is, for example, this kind of things. I knew the Linux upstream kernel patching, they are very, very picky. It needs to be perfect on the last white space. And usually people know me from being rather picky and perfectionist myself. But boy, did I miss the last year. So when I previously 10 and 20, 25 years, my first contribution to the Linux kernel, by the way, was fixing the floating point emulation. I think this was the first patch for me, like around the year 2000 or so. Division or multiplication by 2 was off by 2 or power of 2 or stuff. There was one, I kid you not, there was one XF multiplication stuff of multiply or divide or something like that sort. But back in the day, you sent a patch and like, hey, I found you something, I fixed something, and David S. Miller from Spark Stuff was like, oh yeah, shit can reproduce, thank you so much. But like, dude, did I miss the new Git workflow, how picky they are. And I also have to say rather rude, right? You would think in the meantime, some people know me, they have seen some YouTube video or they have seen my name somewhere, but apparently not all kernel developers did get this message yet. Let me show you. And so that is not, here are some negative emails from like me. And that is the thing. I spent here hours. I even had to rework patches multiple times. And that is upstreaming, right? Like, first of all, you need to white space and punctuation -m perfect your patch. So for example, work here. So one of the first things I saw, like watchdog timer, and that is even a recent thing. Do we only fix here garbage? No. Somewhere here, work. Günther Röck here, maybe somewhere. And so that's just an example, right? This is not, it's all on, before I say, why do you show messages and emails? This is all on Linux kernel and stuff proper, right? This is archived, that is all public, right? This is public. And shout out to everyone, Günther Röck and everyone. This is no negativity, that's not shaming, not blaming, this is just the reality, right? Starting with, so first I sent this patch was a one-liner. The problem is Ugreen, shout out Ugreen. If you need a NAS, maybe consider Ugreen. They sent a NAS to us, DXP 4800 plus, nice affordable entry level NAS. The thing is, it has a watchdog time enabled. So basically it will reboot every 4 minutes, and it has a BIOS option for the watchdog timer that doesn't work. So basically it's very difficult to install Linux and stuff until you realize it's a watchdog timer, and then you need to, it's basically hard, if not impossible, to install most Linux, except of course T2 Linux, because it constantly keeps rebooting every 4 minutes. And initially I just sent here a one-line patch, like maybe initially like this is kind of stuff. And so this one-line patch, like, so this is just an example. And this one-line patch took me hours, right? Because first I had to figure out, like, I got the NAS, showed it again, unpacked it, unboxed it, used T2, and then it rebooted. Like, it takes an hour to reach, like first you said, did I touch something? Was it power cable? Is like something not plugged in? And so on. Like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Then just with my experience, or maybe watchdog timer, and of course it was a watchdog timer. Then BIOS option, you reboot, it's still like, you just disable it in the BIOS. You boot in the BIOS again, like, why is this option? Did I not save? You save it again. You boot again, it happens again, you go into like, dude, did I not save it 2 times? You go into the BIOS, like, dude, it still didn't save, like, okay, BIOS option is buggy. It's already the first hour, right? But then you investigate, and first we solved this in T2 and stuff, but then I thought, this is all the thought process, right? Just to describe you, how does open source work? What is all the process? What is happening? And then I thought, although we had solutions, like we added the watchdog timer into the installer, which was of course a nice thing in general for T2 Linux, which of course, by the way, we run T2 Linux, and maybe you want to try our last Linux that just supports everything and has all this hundreds of things improved that nobody else improved in 6 or 10 years, like P3. Oh, by the way, I also sent a P3 patch upstream. And then I thought, like, okay, the BIOS leaves the watchdog timer on, and until the user configures it, I thought naturally, okay, let's just disable it, right? Like, I mean, obviously you cannot just leave it running, then your NAS will reboot in 4 minutes. And so this was one of my first patches, and boy, did I learn a lot. I mean, including that they are very picky with formatting, and like, you didn't format this, you didn't format this, but then also they understand you wrong. And that is why it doesn't, I ballpark estimated, if I send upstream, it takes 10 times the time. This patch took 100 times the time to get upstream. By the way, it's upstream now. But we went from a one-liner. So initially I sent in disable, like, just like, okay, it might be running from the firmware, and until the user system administrator or the firmware, Linux firmware, like QNAP, like Ugreen configures it, it might be running, so just disable it, right? I thought this is a quick normal solution, like one-line patch, like send it off. Like, I mean, not only did they misunderstood me, I wrote here, some products such as the Ugreen NAS ship with this IT87, watchdog time enabled by firmware, broken BIOS option, and so on, default to no, makes installing is difficult, yada. And then also, like, wrong solution, the driver should set max hardware heartbeat, and if the watchdog is running, mark it as running. So first of all, of course, super welcoming, right? Like, not like, hey, thank you for your recurrent contributions. Like, welcome back to the Linux kernel. It's like, you do this wrong. Also, like, I spent just 1 hour reading the document. Like, also, kernel developer, and in general, not only Günther, amazing co-worker to work with. In the end, we made an amazing patch, and it is upstream now. Not that someone gets this wrong, right? Thank you for working together and reviewing my patch. However, as you are the expert, maybe write twice as much and give me a little bit hand-holding, because I spent an hour reading documentation. What does he want from me? So you read the documentation, you read some other code, you grab the kernel. Okay, is this you, this is you, this is. So I resent this, right? And that is also why, I mean, first of all, hey, a little bit welcoming. Thank you for your patch, right? So instead of wrong solution, thank you for your patch. However, I have some objections or considerations, but it's just some. So I spent hours, like 2 or 3, right? Because you implement stuff like with a little guidance he gives you, then you test it, it doesn't work. Like basically 1 hour documentation, 1 hour drafting, it's like testing, 2 hours gone or so. Then, all right, I even asked, just to clarify, your proposal is supposed to solve the BIOS already enabling the watchdog timer and stuff. Like, no, it would tell the watchdog core. It's like he didn't say this, right? This is like basically, before I spent so much time on this, like, what do you even want from me, right? No, it would tell the watchdog core that the watchdog is running, and the watchdog core would ping the watchdog instead of disabling it. So disabling the watchdog, which was enabled, also like enabled by the BIOS, is a bad idea. After all, presumably enabled on purpose. It's like, yeah, even I mean, this argument, right? Like, you just want to solve something, then this argument, like, but this, and it's like even if it was intentional for the product of Ugreen, like, it doesn't mean like if ASUS ships something broken, it's like ASUS intentionally, or AMD or Intel, right? It's like, or Apple, they intentionally shipped something strangely broken. It's like, we're not correcting this, but I'm quite sure the original NAS software enables the watchdog timer exactly for this reason. It's like, yeah, but also the funny thing is, the kernel developers, they think they are so clever and know everything, but he also understood this, right? Because later he writes, so I reworked this, right? I sent it in. I was like, and then I had one typo, like default, like, because you need to use this relatively text email clients, because otherwise your white spaces get messed up and stuff, right? Or you use git send email format, email patch stuff. It's like, again, no thank you. And again, he's probably overworked. He's totally amazing, nice to work with. This is not a critique on just Günther, right? It's just like Linux kernel, like, never say thank you for your valued free contribution after work and weekend and stuff. You misspelled default. How dare you? It's like, also, claiming the BIOS would be broken is inappropriate. For all we know, this is on purpose. This is like, they even misunderstood you. It's like, no matter how 25 years of experience and stuff, like, if someone writes the BIOS is broken, like, why does he need to judge? Why does he need to second guess that the BIOS is broken? It's like, yes, the BIOS has an option that does not work. If the BIOS has an option, I thought I write this here. And a broken BIOS option. The BIOS has an option, and that is broken. I don't know what is there, but hey, you spelled default wrong, but not understanding that the BIOS option is broken. Okay, unless I'm missing something, whatever, configuration indicating, yada yada. Also, like, and then, thank you for your version. Like, of course not writing thank you, but like, changelog goes here. It's like, dude, it was a one-liner. Like, you really need the changelog from, like, and that is like, again, this would have happened with most other, and I have a couple of, I will not show each email if you want to just search for my name on Linux kernel and stuff, right? And thank you so much for the super things. That is so amazing. I got already 12 of approximately a dozen patches. I got upstream, including PS3 fix. And this year, I got this upstream. And again, this is not a one-time thing. You know me, I do this for 25 years. I run my Linux distribution for 25 years, and I will continue to do so. And I will only double down. We are on a mission to make T2 the best Linux distribution. And now desktop, and even better, and Raspberry Pi. And from now on, my next year resolution is 1 patch, right? This is only a YouTube summary of real world Linux kernel development. And in my opinion, this is also, maybe if some kernel developers watch this, like maybe you want to be a little bit more welcoming. Instead of, and changelog goes here. Okay, boomer. Yes, boomer myself. But so, and then I thought, you get this for free. You're not even getting copyright. Initially, I had 1 line, right? But I thought, if I spent here 4 hours, like maybe I can put my, and live on Twitch, I even ask other kernel developers, like, yeah, do you think I can put my copyright in? Just like, I get nothing for this, right? But have my name in the source there, like for a couple of lines of code, really? It's like, dude, I spent 4 hours developing this. Like, in my opinion, this is, by the way, shady. In my opinion, I probably have the right to put my copyright there because, like, I wrote this. But this is like, no, thank you. How dare you not changelog? And why the fuck do you put the copyright there for your hard work you put in there? It's like, okay. I hear you. I didn't send it again with copyright. But live on Twitch, I was like, you think I can put copyright here? And one other person like, yeah, why not? You just like did some work, right? He changed 75 lines of code and didn't claim that. But I mean, in reality, this is not legal, right? In my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but in my opinion, if I contribute there something, my copyright goes there, right? Like, not for 1 line. I mean, theoretically, even for 1 line, but like for 1 line in sentence. But hey, you requested me to rework this. It took me 4 hours time to, yes, only some lines, like a new function here, like get, like watchdog. I mean, it's more than 1 line, right? Like a new function. Also, and then he cost me more work that in the end, like first he tells me I had here a get timer function where I didn't multiply this where there is a bit second or minute. I didn't but it's also pointless. But then there's a configuration bit determining the timeout counted in minutes or seconds that needs to be taken into account. Like he tells me, but now multiplied with 60. It's like, in the next email he would tell me don't even do that. Like. So then there is a reason log. I was like, then he doesn't want this logged. By the way, I got this log message in, but first he tells me there is no reason for a log message, much less a warning. I did here PR warn watchdog timer. So this is prefix with watchdog timer and stuff like. So that's prefix there, and then left running by firmware. In my opinion, that is a fair warning. The BIOS left a deadly watchdog timer running. I, as a user system administrator, would know like, hey, there is some shit running on your system that you might not even be aware of, but. Like, then kernel developers, how dare you lock the Linux kernel, like, the Linux kernel literally all shut down this, this is system D. The Linux kernel literally, like, all kinds of random shit, but how dare you inform the user that there was, it's like, I replied there, like, for me, that's quite important, and I got this in, right? In the end, this message stayed in. I changed it to PR info, but, like, in my opinion, warning, there's some watchdog timer running, but, and then change it, like, there, like, and watchdog timer does it already. Okay, fair enough. And because like I thought like I better set this, but that I'm only saying this here. This is why for years I tell you, and people question me, right? Like people from Debian and SUSE, like this evil T2 developer, or like Phoronix, this selfish German guy who makes the best Linux distribution but doesn't send the best stuff upstream. This happens when I send stuff upstream. I fix something with 1 line that works for me. They tell me that's not good enough. Rework everything, but you don't get copyright. And yeah, then it continues. Patch version 2 here. By the way, after he told me like use this, right? This was wrong. This was wrong. Basically Linux kernel developers knowing everything better, but telling you the wrong thing. Like, because it's like after debugging another hour. Reading the core sources and the fucking manual, I apparently should not do that because he's like, you should be instead of setting max timeout because like that's 2 different things and one takes precedence and stuff. So after like what he told me in the first email, hey, use this was even wrong. And then you're correct. My understanding was wrong. I saw it's a problem, yada, yada. It's like Linux kernel developers, you're doing everything wrong. And at the end, oh yeah, you're not doing it wrong. But anyway. And then I sent it again, version 3 here, right? And I left this in because like, it's a buggy BIOS option, right? And then he's like, again, a broken BIOS option. It's like, yes, it's still fucking broke. I got this in, by the way. It's like, but this is Linux kernel developers. I write, and this is also like, sure, soon they will know me when I continue to send a patch a day like they got already a dozen. I mean, obviously, eventually they find my viral videos here. But this is Linux kernel developers. You study computer science, you run a company, you do a Linux distribution, Linux kernel developers. Why do you write about the buggy BIOS option? Like, because it's buggy. Like, should we maybe tell someone? Anyway, the key is that the BIOS may have enabled the watchdog. It's like, yeah, but it's still a buggy BIOS option. Like, the thing is, for me, this is important. Not only some users and administrators and other developers might wonder why their NAS is rebooting when they try to install another Linux distribution. And also, why even bother with this, right? Like, if someone wonders, maybe someone finds a bug in this or whatnot, and then they make git log or git bisect, and then he's like, why did this German dude even do that? Like, because the BIOS option is broken, right? Imagine in a year or in 10 years, like, why did they even bother to do that? Because the bloody BIOS option does not allow you to disable that, right? I was like, and then I don't understand this. Like, this is, in my opinion, this is really torture of contributors. Then it's like, I wrote there, and by the way, initially he never said he doesn't like Linux. That makes it Linux difficult and annoyingly rebooting early in the installer, unless one loads install. I gave them a tip. Hey, you can work around this by starting watchdog timer in the installer, which most Linux distributions might not even ship there. But this is a little bit strange, right? Like, why do you not want to have some context? But okay, YOLO, whatever. And then here, remember when he told me, hey, you get timeout thing, where I only checked if the timeout is running. He's like, yeah, you need to multiply this with minutes, right? With 60. And now he's like, the next email, the next review, given the context, you can simplify this something like is running. It's like, why did you not tell me this 1 hour, 2 hours earlier? Like, also, by the way, is this produced a warning? Like, here's some example code which produced a warning. But like, this is kernel review. First, you're doing it wrong. Do it so, then, now seeing it, I don't even want to do it like this anymore. Like, and that is why I only show this here as an example. Why is upstreaming 10 times, if not 100 times more expensive? Plus, of course, all the formatting or to the last dot, like change log and things and all the interactions and stuff. And then even, yeah, you moved. So, I mean, he is right. I'm not even saying everything like he's right. I only moved this code and says like, yeah, you don't need to, like, why do you move this here, right? The code can be moved ahead of super. I only moved this earlier because earlier I got the timeout and I want, like, anyway. This is just an example how this goes. It's not always like this, but this was one of the extreme cases. But at the end, yeah, patch version 6, yes. Plus, of course, and things like Unicode and my name and other things, right? Let's see. So basically, we got 12 things up. I cannot show you all here because I moved, because this is the wrong email folder, my Emacs Mu client here for white space precise sending this. Doesn't have all emails here. This is why. So we got this watchdog in, we got via CPU temp in, but this was also a funny one. This was just for the prototype that I have here. I mean, this was also, by the way, I think Günther Röck. But again, no, it's just an example, right? Like, totally amazing people. He has stolen, aka he has imported the live we did previously last year. We did the DDR5 SPD hub driver here. Probably it's like, yeah, it's like, by the way, your Unicode stuff, it's like, yeah, I think it's correct, but it's basically tooling. It's probably Latin 1 versus Unicode of email shit, but you send something absolutely, by the way, our shit Git tooling, it's like, doesn't like your email. It's like, okay. Spending 1 hour forcing more UTF-8 in Emacs Mu for, yeah. Also, you patch. Also, this is funny. Your patch doesn't apply. I mean, for me, it applied. Later, it's like I'm not really sure what you mean because the patch applied for me. But he was in like, yeah, this Git AM special snowflake. You sent a patch that applies, and there's like it doesn't apply. It's like it does apply. Just some. I have whatever. So it's funny. Information available for Wire Centaur SARS suggests the CPU was never released. It's like, yeah, but Linus Tech Tips, and I have some, and I have even two. You'll have to provide more context explains. Like you send something in, like, yes, it's unreleased. This is all the stuff I've done the last years, and you need to learn. Also, I got sound stuff upstream, right? Got 2 sound fixes. The year of desktop Linux audio, Mac Pro headphone things that we previously have done here. Also, this is stuff nobody's done, right? Before I say, yeah, but you only sent like this prototype. Like, no, this one was a popular NAS that Ugreen right now sells like hotcakes. I'm not only sending an old crap. Like, so the first thing I sent was for a currently brand new shipping product. And the other things, there you see, by the way, the attention to detail between my Steve Jobs like Linux distribution here, that is T2 Linux, and other like SUSE and Red Hat, where popular devices like the Apple Mac Pro that sold hundreds of thousands and is a very popular device, like nobody ever fixed the audio on it. Like I recently just got it very cheap because I'm collecting stuff here for T2 Linux, cheap off of eBay. And I'm surprised, like, yes, 10 years later, I think the product, the Mac Pro, the Trashcan Mac Pro is now a decade old. Crazy enough, time flies by, right? No other Linux distribution or user ever has fixed the headphone jack. This is a level of attention to detail of other Linux distributions and us. And I did this in January or so. So in just 10 months or 9 months time, it's Upstream. Similar Microsoft Surface 2 and 3. Yes, I know Louis Rossmann says he has never seen one. I purchased both for my company here because I didn't want to have an iPad. I purchased them for T2 development. Of course, naturally for Linux Touch UI and stuff. And similar there, the headphone worked, but it sounded like crap. Either, I mean, sure, Louis Rossmann is of course right. Nobody has a Microsoft Surface except I have two. Or other people have bad hearing and don't care. Everyone audiophile and let's buy some expensive deck, but nobody hears that the headphone jack sounds like crap. I had this fixed also maybe nearly 8 or whatnot years ago. I never sent it upstream except now thanks to your generous shares, likes, and subscribes, patronage, and super chat things here. And this even is another example here. Please do differently, right? So that is, you spend all the efforts, I mean, yes, 8 years ago. But first of all, even in T2, I had disabled this patch because it didn't apply anymore. So I had disabled that Microsoft Surface ALSA patch maybe a year ago because I'm not using it daily. And so I had to rebase it many years later. So first, I mean, that's all the work that nobody sees, right? Then I had to retest it. So I had to get the Microsoft Surface. Where did I put it? Right there. I had to take the Microsoft Surface out, like test all the stuff before and after. Like, is it still, could have been that someone has fixed it differently. So first test without the patch. This is all the work, right? This is why, oh my God, is upstreaming expensive. And then nobody, and certainly not the Linux Foundation, is thankful and would send here any donations, right? And fair enough. I mean, the thing is with Takashi here, which I know also personally since 20 years already. It's of course totally fair to say, hey, in the meantime, we do this differently, right? That is of course peer review and what makes Linux amazing. And so many people always try to say Linux is somehow not secure or Windows is better. Also, they troll us here in the YouTube chat or Twitch chat. That's of course not true. That is exactly the peer review process that I'm thankful for and what makes Linux so quality and secure and stuff. But that is just the reality of, I probably did this how other people did this 8 years ago because I probably copied this from other Define. But like 8 years later, usually in cases like this, we provide a fixed wiring by static deck table or do some other tricks instead. Could you send me the ALSA info output for those? So I was done. I fixed it 8 years ago. I refixed it. I double tested. You cannot just send it into Linux kernel and it's like I didn't test it, right? Like if I send something in, I need to make sure it's still needed, it still works. And sometimes when we test something, we find out it's either fixed or it doesn't work anymore. It's a patch, and then we need to revise the patch. So all this work also makes T2 even more better. But yeah, then you start like do. Now you spend hours and then like give us other information, right? So getting the Microsoft Surface again, powering up, booting this, sending this in, even first asking, by the way, what do you mean? Do you want this with, I even ask here probably with, do you need this with HDI debugs? Like, no, not really, but nah. And yeah, this is how, this, by the way, I also got in this via ID. First he says like, hey, prototype, like, this is especially necessary since the CPU was never released. But then he's like, you send something in, and then, I mean, first, hey, it's a prototype, who needs it? But then the hard-coded numbers here, like they were here. So here were numbers. Here was like 2 and 3. You don't see this because it's up there. But like 3 and 4 or so, and F and 4, 7. And it's like these hard-coded numbers were changed to defines with commit this here, hardwaremon, like by someone else previously. I don't know why that commit did not also change this case statements. In either case, I'd suggest either use defines or everywhere or not at all. So what I ended up, how I got this via prototype in there is I sent a patch, and that is the thing, right? You want to fix one thing, and then you need to make some other things also better. For example, here I sent this in then somewhere. Wherever. Here, changing this, here's a patch. I changed this then from A and D to the C in this other patch here somewhere. So at the end, I sent even more in than initially intended. This is just, but this is not a one-liner. It's not just for every other patch there is a discussion, right? Like, but not this, but not that. And then even the floppy fix, we had a 1-number floppy fix for UltraSpark systems that turned out to be broken for 8 freaking years. And of course we fixed this. And it was 1 number. And then even discussion. Hey, can you find us, even for P3 was like, hey, can you provide us a precise fixes? And then it quickly becomes not a simple sending in, because like, it's like, yeah, can you, like, thank you for the fix, but can you tell us precisely which commit broke that to have a proper fixes here? Or, and that is all the extra work that nobody sees, right? People like, yeah, nice patch and stuff like, and this is a one-liner might cost me 4 hours. So in moderate terms of 100 euro per hour here in Central Europe or the Americas. A 4-hour patch, a one-liner, might cost me 400 euro, right? Like basically here at the company. And when I then do additional stuff and rewrite this, like, for example, this watchdog timer at the end with all the throwing stuff, you probably spend 6 hours on this or something of that sort, right? And when I fix something for P3 and then they ask me, by the way, I think I got already 2 pieces the last day. So only since a week, like quite precisely since last Saturday, I started to send patches in, 2 or 3 a day, a dozen in the meantime. Then they ask me like, yeah, can you provide the precise fixes? It's like, yeah, I could, but like this would cost me 8 hours of sitting here, like compiling this, compiling that, rebooting, like why does it take 8 hours? Like if you do this on a older system, it would take a week or months. I can only do this quickly in 8 hours, as you have previously seen here, because I can bisect cross-compiling with this amazing T2 package manager, where I can cross-compile PowerPC on 7950X or so, epic thread-ripping AMD hardware. But even then, I need to maybe reboot 25 times the kernel, right? If stuff is broken for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, or like Spark floppy, 8 years broken, right? Good luck rebuilding the Spark kernel 20 times. And then in both cases, PS3, PowerPC, and UltraSpark, there are multiple times in between where the Linux kernel has other severe bugs, where it doesn't even boot or has other issues and bugs, right? So similar, I could show you, for example, yesterday I patched here just some debug messes, just some for PC MCIA cards, the debug Linus Torvalds 10 years ago, Linus Torvalds himself personally broke kernel continue message intentionally because he saw drivers need to do this perfectly, and like if drivers don't do this perfectly, it's their fault. So we have still multiple debug messages. I didn't even send in the easy things. I still have here many small and bigger that I will send them next week. Like basically, shellac subscribe, maybe leave some support here in some way, shape, or form through all the various means, because like I still have 100 or so patches just in the Linux kernel, not to forget Valgrind and glibc and Xorg and stuff, right? So just I had the multiple fixes and they all work, and one patch did not work. A year ago, basically, I gave up last year because it was so stupid. This was Yenta. So for all the PCMA slots, so this messages are completely corrupted. You might not really see that. Here's an extra line break all over, like here, like basically all of this lines here. This should not look like this. Somehow apparently nobody else cares. Sure, not everyone is using PCMCIA cards. I sometimes do for testing. Certainly some other companies probably still do. I wanted to fix this last year. In the end, it's a 2-line patch, right? But this took me also 4 hours or so, right? I debugged this a year ago. I mean, usually it's just simple using current continue, which they do here already. Basically, it took us, like, first of all, I didn't know. I thought like maybe it's timing or different interrupt, whatnot, context, or through function boundaries, strange stuff. Couldn't get this to properly print last year. Like even I could not get this to properly print, right? And only yesterday we did this live on Twitch and spent probably another 2 hours on this, because like we debugged through all the print shit and I was wondering like, why does this shit not work, until we realized, turns out this def info, this is explicitly marking the message with log new line. This print cake code is horrible macro hell. I also didn't had the idea that would be an issue. Thank you for the membership there, by the way. So yes, this 2-liner. So of course, why do I know so much stuff? Because like I once, like yesterday, debugged this for 2 hours and like, was it waste of time to debug this print stuff? But now we know, like now we have saved this for hopefully forever, and now you know. And so the developer and kernel developers, I mean, this is the kind of stuff like Linus Torvalds personally. Do I in other patches? I had this mentioned here somewhere. Since which original patch that is? Somewhere here is here. Since Linus Torvalds reinstated current continue and commit 4BCC 595 in 2015. Like this is multiple drivers have logging broken. I patched multiple. I noticed this on all my vintage machines with SCSI. The SCSI printup usually looks complete garbage. We patched this here like years ago. Like this is probably rebased already multiple times. And that is the same thing here. Just that usually it's just some missing current continue, but like I didn't know that this log new line existed until yesterday, and that def info uses. So I changed this here. We tried various, like, also why does it take 2 hours? Because like after 1 hour we knew, okay, it's that. But then another hour here, it's like, yeah, it is just like plus testing plus, yeah, it is time. You know how it is, right? Time runs by. Like I don't even know if they will upstream accept this. I mean, fact is the log. This is the difference, by the way. Either it looks that garbage. I mean, this is a Linux kernel quality. They tell me you do it wrong. Read the fucking documentation. Send it white space correct, and you Unicode name warning and whatnot, and it's a prototype and not accepted and whatnot. But the reality is, like, even the log messages are broken since a decade or whatnot, right? And somehow nobody at SUSE and Red Hat cares. I don't know why I'm the only developer who cares that the text is readable. I was like, it's a little bit funny. Also, nobody fixed P3. Like I fixed already P3 now 4 times. In every year, P3 is differently broken, right? And then it's like, how often did I spend here live on YouTube? 8 hours or 4 hours? Yeah, it is what it is. So I will send this in next. But even then, theoretically, you would need to check here the history of this PCMDC code. Like, so now why does it cost, like, it's still not even upstream ready, which, I mean, the discussion, like, yeah, we don't like it, like, yeah, it's like, but so you would then even need to check, like, by the way, when was this, like, last touch? Like, basically, this is why it takes 10 times longer, right? Because the meta information of dev info here, then you, which one was it? IO probe, is it this one here, clam region? Then you would start to get blaming this stuff. Which line was it precisely? Should have been one of those. Yeah, PR continues. So yeah, one of those. Yeah, 2000. So here's one deck 2000. Like, maybe that is broken since, yeah, since Linus Torvalds touched that. Or actually, so maybe probably not. Like, maybe this was once working. Like, maybe 2014 this was working. And only since I probably would need to check. And this is why even this commit text is expensive. It costs me sometimes, it takes an hour just to further bisect, just having basically NASA. This is basically, and this is crazy. Even like, I mean, in a way, it is impressive and good. I mean, it's basically somehow my impression is the commit messages are more quality than some Linux kernel code, right? Because like the code doesn't work, but your commit message needs to be 100% spot on, right? Yeah, now I would still need to, like, maybe either by like Linus Torvalds guru meditating that, or you get bisect this, but I'm also not feeling like git bisecting 11 years back off. Like, maybe it was even working in 2014. We would, what precisely was, did they also touch here PR continue? Yeah, 2014. What let's see. Maybe this was a conversion to convert def print k to def print k, reduce object size things. So this was a tree. Maybe they didn't wait, reorder test to use instead use PR cont instead of naked print k, reorder test to use yeah, that is a question. I mean, that is also all this tree wide. Usually tree wide cleanup, it's like tree wide broken, right? And then people, I mean, sure, why does nobody fix this? Like, maybe, I mean, most likely some other system administrators or various embedded developers notice it, but nobody, fact is, nobody in potentially broken since 2014 or broken since 2015, since Linus Torvalds enforced it more, whatever. Fact is most likely broken around a decade. And probably other people have seen that, but it takes my level of Steve Jobs-like perfection and dedication to actually patch that. Like, how crazy is that, right? But there are 2,500 Linux distributions and 100,000 Linux developers, but few people take the effort to like debug that, right? The SCSI drivers are not fixed. Even Itanium, Itanium I sent in already to our Itanium co-maintainer. Itanium also had this kernel continued in the timers. Like, basically the first on Itanium, one of the first boot messages where timer frequency things was also broken like this. It's like, yeah. So basically a little bit extra research, like either yeah, that's the thing. Like, how much effort do you spend? And then like, can you get bisect this? It's like, yeah, I could, but that's another 4 hours, or like depending on which hardware. Like, some hardware I can test easier. Like this, I can test easier. I can network boot this, and I have a very efficient infrastructure here. Basically, shall I subscribe to further auto? What I need next, I need to automate this here, like some relay controlled, like power cycling and serial. Like, next, I need a fully automated git bisecting here to cut down time on git bisecting this here. Yeah, that is basically either I guru meditate this here, like this is, yeah, this is pretty tree wide, or something of that sort, or maybe not fully tree wide or whatever, but you get, I guess you get the idea. Basically, that is the status update. In general, T2 huge progress. Last but not least, then we are really done. Maybe I take a quick look at your comments, and thank you again for all your super chats. I doubled down. I basically made T2 and open source so much my full-time job here that I did over 5,000. This is somehow underreporting. Somehow the last year personally, I contributed probably around 6,000 changes, mostly to T2 Linux, but now increasingly this, so as soon as it's in Linux kernel, I guess it will show up here soon. The stuff that I sent in. So New Year's resolution on track to 365 Linux patches, and if I just go fix typos. But for now, I have, as you see, we have so many amazing patches that make T2 one of the most developer friendly and increasingly polished. And now we have native kernel compile and boot on RISC-V, Star5, Vision 2 on Raspberry Pi here today. Even that we spent hours today just, not only importing all the Raspberry Pi 5 patches that are not upstream into T2, but also test building that to actually boot, because initially it didn't even boot. And then this is where all the time goes, right? Like even you import patches, you compile Raspberry Pi, and it doesn't even boot. So today was also the first day I ever booted a T2 self-compiled kernel on Raspberry Pi 5 here. That's basically all the stuff we do now, increasingly live daily, actually recently quite daily on, so much to do. We live stream often half a business day or so on average on Twitch, in case you wanted to follow there. So that is like 8 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours time streamed. Kernel development takes some time. So basically probably since Sunday, November the 16th, 12 bugs fixed. And increasingly so. That's basically the summary for today. Let's take a quick look at the comments. I wanted to first focus here for people later watching this. Otherwise, if I always react to the comments, then it's always becoming chaos. So let's see who wants to, shall I subscribe more? Let's pop up chat and read it too. Like maybe here, I guess. So thanks for super chat. I also received such comments, submitted many manuscript in science, too normal, I hate it, give journal money, publish access to anyone, as people understand shit about. And yes, this is, why don't you upstream more? Because I only work, I think in the meantime, people understand that for 20 years, if not, for 25 years, I basically work or study 80 hours a week, and increasingly live on YouTube and Twitch. It probably becomes apparent that running a major open source project is quite a bit of work that few people thank you for, and otherwise just ridicule you on foronics and don't even dare to publish a news about this. Code does, but sure looks bad, messed up spelling language, ain't you main one. Warning, rogue left in place for bootloader, super confusing source of timeless resets, looks up things, handler doesn't right thing, he spelled thought wrong, happens, shit firmware left random interrupts running course. By the way, the current info thing there, or whatever the precise function name there is, I left the PR info. It's odd that nobody forked Linux kernel yet. The thing is, by the way, I would, last but not least, this process is too inefficient. Sure, I got now hey, I learned Git 2025. I went to Git University to white space correct and Git format patch things. Since like basically finally a reason to properly learn Git. Still don't like it that much more though. I understand stuff needs to be perfect, but like this level of perfection, also if people who not regularly used to send stuff in come and start sending in stuff, they could really be a little bit more welcoming, right? Instead of like, you do everything wrong, and you get nothing, not even a thank you or a copyright, which actually, again, Günter Röck stole my SPD 15 whatnot, 58 or 48 or whatnot, DDR5 memory sensor hub driver, right? He left a minor copyright in there, but nah. No, there is previously the continuation of the Linux is too big and the Linux Foundation too rich. The thing is, nobody has the time to fork the Linux kernel. Maybe some people would have. I mean, I yesterday was joking maybe because I'm not the biggest fan of the Rust stuff. I mean, I like memory safety and stuff. I just don't like Rust. I never liked C very much. I'm actually at least C++, like lightweight C++ with some template safety and proper string and stuff. And I think would have made the Linux kernel much better. Yesterday I was forking, hey, maybe we should fork Linux to Linux++. It's like recently even a Red Hat developer, like 6 months or so ago, as recent as 6 or 8 or whatnot months ago, someone even from Red Hat sent in a patch of like, hey, and not on April the 1st, but like, hey, let's maybe make Linux kernel a little bit C++y, but I guess that went nowhere. Obviously, apparently. I would actually argue making like, I think Linux would be much better, like with some kernel string thing and like the K object being being lightweight C++ for 20 years already, but that's of course not my call. Git and like, so yeah, currently it's Greg Hartman, like should Linux retire or something happen to him or stuff, then currently it's a continuation is said to be Greg Hartman. But the fact is there are hundreds of Linux kernel developers at SUSE and Red Hat and stuff. So, and for that reason also on the payroll, like Greg Hartman of the Linux Foundation. So it will not happen when Linus is gone. Also, the flood of ever-changingness. This is also why I wouldn't fork the Linux kernel, except like maybe Linux++. I rather want to write a microkernel. So share, like, subscribe to support me all the work we do. Like basically now we make, like after 25 years, the normal things with T2 being amazing and great. Now we are on a mission. We are basically on a mission until Christmas to have unfortunately systemd, because currently we still use sys5 init. But next will be the next big release, and we hope until Christmas we will have a first technology preview. The next T2 release will be fully desktop, easy desktop, normal user ready. The desktop Linux ready. That unfortunately means with systemd, I have this here already running, right? We for years have a systemd package. It's just like usually optional. So this is my first prototype systemd build. We unfortunately need this as much as I don't like it. And now that you could say, yeah, you don't like it because you don't like now I knew it and I didn't like it. And now I had to know it more and I like it less. So yeah, but the thing is like for modern login managers and other integration things and stuff, it's hard to avoid systemd. So basically, I spent, as you see here, enough time already. I rather will also want to write a microkernel. Like the more you share, like, subscribe and support me and stuff, and Patreon and T2 support and things. Which I have to say, thank you again, Shot. If someone sees this, we got multiple donations. Like basically, donations increased also 10 times, which is until last year we got basically 0 donations ever for T2. This is like if you think I'm rich, like no. In 20 years we got basically 0 donations because who would ever donate to T2 Linux? But since I YouTube and Twitch, not only get I some AdSense and some super thanks, but we also started last year or so to get donations. So shout out to all the probably 20, 30, 40 people who donated the last 24 months, which is amazing and increasingly so. And that's certainly why do we do now more than ever before, because of your support, right? And thank you so much making this possible. It is in general a pleasure to make open source and Linux a greater and more bug-free place. And you surely see this here, right? Like before, my contributions were high, but you can go click here. I think this is probably open. Like previously, it was like only 2,000 commits a year. And now it is on track record for like, maybe 10,000 commits. Did I say 6,000? Like maybe, oh no, the years, sorry. Yeah, 6,000 commits a year. For a moment, I thought we have only half year in, like now we have Christmas. So will we support Xlibre? Probably not. Oh, by the way, we just yesterday fixed a bug. This Xlibre stuff is too many changes. This is too much waste of time for me. They do way too many uncontrolled random changes, and also mostly they do exactly what the Linux kernel, in my opinion, do wrong. The ever-changing tree-wide stuff, breaking stuff even more. In my opinion, the most in T2 we have various fixes. Hey, surprise! the last year's live on Twitch and YouTube, we fixed multiple things like Matrox, like Mach64 that is upstream crashing and stuff, right? Even what I sent upstream, I fixed also for probably 20 years broken. I fixed the SGIO2 frame buffer. That's already accepted by Helge Delaire. I also sent in a fix for Sun TCX frame buffer. That's not, I didn't get a comment for that yet. So I think the Sun TCX frame buffer for Spark Station 5 and 10 or so should be reproducible in QEMU, I believe. Since it's in, so that is what all your support does here, right? Like doubling and tripling down here on all the support. And yeah, just yesterday I noticed in this excessive testing that older Intel segmentation fault when you exit the XOC server, and then why we debugged this, and this also took like probably 2 hours, right? It's nothing like you quickly debug why the XOC server is crashing when you exit it. And then during debugging and stuff and Googling and Git logging and stuff and Git blaming, we found that actually others had reported this for 11 years on other random bugzillers. Nobody fixed Xorg crashing on exit, or what I didn't know because I didn't use it so long. Turns out the bugs were it's also crashing when screensaver enabled. So I thought it's only crashing. I thought it's not that important. We fixed it eventually. We fixed it yesterday. But it turns out for 11 years, the whole bugzillers are full at Gentoo or Arch, Xorg and stuff. Also for display, DPMS, display power management stuff kicking in. Like, let that sink in. That is, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the things Ex Libre, in my opinion, too much changes, too much pointless. I would want 2 things. The one thing is I would want XAA acceleration back. I told the Ex Libre people, they was basically, yeah, it's a little bit much work. And the other thing is I would like DRI 1 and 2 back so that I could 3D game on 3DFX Voodoo and stuff. But so basically that would be, that is people, the Ex Libre people, they, in my opinion, from what I've seen, they do the low-hanging fruit of like, they run the whole source tree through linting and manual cleanups. And that is not what I need for maintenance. For maintenance, I need real bug fixed, old hardware acceleration back and stuff. But I would rather, this code base is anyway not amazing. I said it 100 times already. I would have never deleted XAA on the way of, basically the X developer broke X on the way to Wayland, which is pretty shit move of plant obsolescence. They only broke it and deleted it, and now everyone should use Wayland anyway. Like, why did they broke it and delete it? That makes no sense to me. But yeah, I still think you need 10 clones. Yes, the more you share, like, subscribe, and maybe I can afford a second child. Get you another German dev that fix EMU PCs I sound card, which were various kind of broken. I had to deal with 2, by the way. I hope only the best. Since you're touching the files anyway, could you just wanted to fix the one 20 years old? Yeah, exactly. Like, thank you for wanting one ID, but how about you clean up the rest of the driver first? It's like, yes, of course, Günther, with pleasure. And the thing is, I answered super nicely. I even wrote on the first email to Günther, works there in the USA, I even wrote, yes, sir, of course I will do, sir. And like once I said, with pleasure. And it's like, and that is like, there's like, changelog. It's like this, you're wrong. Read the fucking manual. It's like, yes, sir. My pleasure, sir. I will rebase it live on Twitch, sir. The more live streams, the better. It's like, of course I will come back. I will spin a V2 in no time for you, sir. Ready for Twitch, ready for your free code service for which I will not get the copyright, sir. It's like, that is open source world. It's like, of course I will fix the other things for you, sir. By the way, I have 100 fixes in my backup storage. Do you have a Snapdragon? I have the Snapdragon X. I mean, maybe some phone is a Snap. I have a shout out to so many amazing people, right? I got an Itanium donated. I got an American company donated me a Qualcomm X1 Elite. Why is T2 getting so increasingly amazing? Because of all this newly regained amazing support. Got the Itanium, got the DEC Alpha, which is totally amazing, immediately fixed bugs all over the place. I got an X1 Elite, sir, or madam. I might have a Snapdragon 8 in some phone, which I don't follow the most. But first we do desktop now, and then probably we will also do phones. Good question. Would love to mess around with higher end ARM chips running Linux. Yes, so we have X1 Elite. So we have the currently highest gen and M1 Max by Apple and Raspberry Pi 5. Of course, the other X1 Elite. And maybe I should ask Lenovo if they want to provide me a... by the way, shout out to Lenovo, as they loaned me this for a year, which is amazing. Somehow they didn't ask yet to get it back. That is like, don't delay if you need a good laptop, not because they loaned me this for, like, obviously I would not recommend mostly unsupported M3 and 4 and Apple making Apple rich again. Like, just get the good old quality x86 thing that also they have Snapdragon. Probably should check with Lenovo if they want to loan me some X2 Elite thing there. What's up debugging approach to take a kernel programming, like mostly printf, like Guru Meditation, printf. Unfortunately, I probably should set up more with kprobes and GDB. Shall I subscribe for more advanced? The thing is usually, I mean, yeah, the thing is some bugs are Spark and RISC-V, and then I don't have instant kernel debugger stuff, and most stuff I'm not sure if, yeah, I need to get better at integrated kernel debugger experience setup thing here. Currently mostly Guru Meditation, printf, bisecting. They don't often understand the code most of the time, but they care about English part more because they can understand it. Would be great if you could get Milk v Jupyter. We have a Milk v Pioneer, right? I actually, yeah. The thing is, I cannot support everything. Like, basically, I just said this today. I mean, first of all, share, like, and subscribe more. I seriously need more funding because my company, I mean, I can still not live from the YouTube. This is also why I make this video. What did I wanted to show now? This is also why I make this video, to engage with the YouTube community and give you here 1 hour backup of more content and potentially viral video. We have the Milk V, and the Milk V is of course big. We did show this at the Frostcon show, and that's of course a heavy, beefy, like mini ITX high performance 64 thread ripping monster. But I also said, and shout out to the Raspberry Pi Foundation, they sent me the Raspberry Pi 5, which I highly appreciate, because I could buy the things, but I'd rather not buy the things, right? Because I sometimes also need to buy Lego for my child. And have you seen how expensive Lego is? So share, like, subscribe that my child can get more Lego, or not Lego, like the Not Orient Express from Not Lego. Because have you seen that this is so much cheaper and has power-up functions for like a tenth of the price? Bigger power-up. And anyway, what I just said recently is, first of all, I want to do the big things, and good evening, everyone. Basically, I'm here on Twitch and YouTube to do the major low-level things. And by the way, I want to write a microkernel, right? So basically, don't really ask me for one more bot support. Like, learn to do it yourself. Like, download T2 Linux and see me doing it on Twitch and just copy this. And after this, you will for sure have learned a ton of things. Maybe it doesn't, or 2 doesn't, or whatnot. Why is Discord paywalled? Because we need to earn some money, and I don't want people asking me stupid questions all day. That is why. But if you have at least $1, like, that is the thing, like, I do so much for the Linux, like, since I'm 16, I do so much without, until recently, any donations and payments. And then, like, why is your Discord for free? Because we sit like a hobo under a bridge, homeless, and are asking with a tip jar for donations for, like, I'm fixing Linux kernel, need dollar dime things. But $1 is really, like, this is the thing. If you want first-class direct access to a top-notch professional community, then $1 is really extremely cheap, you all. I tell you, I get usually nothing for $1, not even a Coke or coffee. break here from writing optimized Ethereum assembly. That is amazing. What about Tuxedo dropping Snapdragon X Elite project site? Yeah, Snapdragon X Elite is not amazing. This is also why the American company sent me one. I actually can turn it up here. I have it on. I should have it on. Basically, yeah, the Qualcomm stuff, the ARM stuff is annoying. The IP should have been 137, I believe. I should actually register this here with a proper name. Maybe it was off. Was it 137 or 136? Something of... Maybe it's powering up. I mean, the performance is good. The patches are still not even fully upstream. I really should. It should boot. Um, 137. Yes, I did remember that correctly. And by the way, we run T2 Linux, right? Oh, by the way, I sent, like, also, how low-hanging fruit is it? The Steam Deck, the natively running, shipping Linux game console, has over 2 years later still not the temperature controller driver upstream, right? I don't know why I'm the only one. Like, I patched that in T2 2 years. I didn't bother upstreaming because I'm busy. It's 10 times more work for me, as you see here. I send it upstream. It's upstream now. The next Linux kernel release will over 2 years later, thanks to your shares, likes, and subscribes and my hard work here, finally, maybe notify for Ronix. Stupid German YouTuber finally brings CPU temperature sensing to the Steam Deck. I don't know why nobody else did this, but now it's upstream. 137. Yeah, it probably took a while to wake up or whatnot. Or I had it actually powered down for some reason. Right, recently my neighbors shorted the electricity mains here. And by the way, this is T2 Linux. And that's running on a Qualcomm X1 Elite. It is basically amazing. Except some things not amazing. Snapdragon DevKit 2.1 here things with basically performance amazing and stuff, but it's not fully upstream. The patches are in T2. Even this took me probably 3 days. I kid you not. This, like, making this work in T2 probably took 16 hours and then another 8 hours, like basically 3 work days, right? Just collecting stuff, testing stuff, making stuff work. This is basically dedicated video. I mean, it works in theory. I have a dev kit, not a laptop. For me, the most annoying thing is that it doesn't support virtualization because the firmware runs in hypervisor mode. EL1 or EL2, I always forget. There might be some trick to change that. EL, do they lock this here? EL2 detect EL1. EL1. All CPUs started EL1. So that's EL2. Yeah. That means it's super lame that you can't use KVM. Like, they basically, Qualcomm is running that in some Qualcomm microkernel hypervisor thing, which is like like why? And for that, it's complex. I'm not amazed at, but also that you cannot just use KVM is absolutely unacceptable. Otherwise, it's amazing, except drivers and patches and state and stuff, but it's probably I should make a dedicated video. But again, huge shout out for the American company. I don't know if they want to be named, but if you watch this and you know, I highly appreciate every donation, and we use it here. As you see, we use it. And the patches are in T2, and it should mostly work. But that is all the thing. There's always one more thing, like making initRD work, making PCIe stuff, making USB-C roll stuff, making like putting it into the initRD. Like you don't have working things in the initRD. You don't have without special Snowflake driver things. You don't have even PCIe and NVMe in the init. It's like yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's complex. And there's always, even if you spend 24 hours on this, it's still one more thing here and one more thing there, and then firmware binaries, and It's basically, I don't agree what this big mega corporations YOLO together there. That is, basically, share, like, subscribe, tell your friends and family, your Facebook group, your MySpace group, your TikTok fans, your and stuff, right? Your university classmates to share, like, and subscribe. I cannot just ask Framework about some Ryzen box because it's just like, YOLO, who are you, right? That is why I turned to YouTube and Twitch just 6 years ago. Obviously, starting with just 10 followers and 5 likes. But now, in the 7th year or so, things start to take off a little bit more. And now we are still tiny, right? It's like you underestimate of with 60,000 subscribers, just like, hey, I like this YouTuber, like, do you want to send me something? It's like most companies, like, who are you, right? I'm already thankful that working together with Jeff Gerling and huge shout out there and other people, RISC-V International, Deep Computing, Lenovo Loan. It's like, it's a small step, but it made a huge difference of being able to basically kind of full-time make open source and T2 Linux super great again. Do you see all platforms unifying onto common ARM64 base with specifics, just like how consolidate everything or have extensions, or do you see RISC-V fulfilling that? RISC-V will be the future. ARM is too single vendor limited, but RISC-V and ARM both have the major problem of all the SoC vendors YOLOing strange low quality drivers stuff together, and then nothing is compatible. I just was thinking today, the ARM and RISC-V vendors do exactly wrong what the one thing the IBM PC and clones did in the 80s right, which is nearly 100% end bug compatibility, including copying copyright strings of not being not. Remember this famous not copyright IBM stuff for software searching for copyright IBM things in the BIOS. And that is, it just came to me. That is basically the best, basically why was the IBM PC and clones and still today so much market leading successful? Because 100% freaking compatibility. And that is not what ARM or RISC-V deliver, mostly on all the drivers. Because for every, and that's also the thing with the Qualcomm X1, you need drivers for USB-C, for PCIe, you need pin control, you need frequencies things, you need this and that is like, if x86 had that, nobody would have been using that. And that is basically, I see this, I say this daily, I see this for years. This is also why I actually boycotted the Raspberry Pi. That is why until recently I did not purchase a single Raspberry Pi, because I thought that a decade ago. It's like, dude, I'm not dealing with another cursed, incompatible, differently booting, differently drivers, patches not upstream, patches still not upstream, by the way, for Raspberry Pi 5, except in T2 now, important since today, and huge shout out for the super chat. It's like, yeah, that is basically, dear vendors, and I said this for months, for years I say this, basically before I started YouTube I say this, and today it came me, this is basically PC clones and compatibility, right? And the ARM and RISC-V vendors really need to get the act together. There should be one HDMI interface and not 100. I kid you not. Even the Star 5, over 2 years later, maybe now, whatever, it's mostly upstream except the display output. I spent, this is also Friday or so, or Thursday, I spent hours trying. So T2 boots now natively with the T2 compiled kernel. But we still miss HDMI patches again. And there are 2 competing patches. They both don't apply. This is, how do I waste hours? I wasted probably 2 hours to make this fucking HDMI work. And in 2 hours, could neither the old from January or the new patch from November to work. And that is the state, and that is only HDMI unaccelerated, pure frame buffer output. That does not even include the never open source, ever worked, maybe never will, Power VR, not open. The non-open, or actually, okay, now finally some little bit open source code. However, open source code still not supporting Imagination Tech Power VR. However, shout out even there. I even made their new friends. Maybe we get some stuff more working, because that is the thing. you live stream on Twitch and YouTube. You do Linux for 20 years, nobody cares. You do Twitch and YouTube for 5 years, people start to care. Hey, I saw your YouTube video. How about Power VR graphic? I kid you not. But that is for another video. Shall I subscribe? Make sure this audience grows, this channel grows, this project grows, and making increasingly a dent. And now New Year's resolution. Yes, it's early, but the thing is I wanted to start for various reasons. So the Advent already started last Sunday. Advent of Code early this year. Happy holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving. New Year's resolution. On average, 1 patch a day, mostly Linux kernel, maybe sometimes another project, but the next 365 days on average, 1 patch upstream is the new mission. And I hope you will like this and enjoy this. And finally have various small, bigger things. I have also IO RPIC and other things finally improved and upstream. Thank you so much. Have a good day and night. I hope you enjoyed to learn something. And as always, see you next time for more fun open source code to come.